Hello, hello, hello. What's up? What's up? Good evening. Welcome to another segment of Real Talk Tuesday. I am Brittany Stevenson, and I will be facilitating tonight's conversation. I got my crew here with me tonight. Let me go ahead and introduce them real quick so we can get into it. Miss Brianna Branch.
Hey, y'all.
Reverend Brandon Gale. And last but not least, Reverend Kenneth Watson. And we have a special guest joining us tonight, little Miss Grace. Hey, Gigi. Hey, Grace. Okay. So she's so how's everybody doing today?
Good.
Pretty good.
Good. That's what we love to hear. Did everybody have a good Easter celebration and all that?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yes, it was great.
So tonight's topic, we are talking about forgiveness. The reason why I asked about Easter is because we obviously, growing up in the church, we know the true meaning of, the Easter's, the Easter lesson. It is the resurrection of Jesus. He died for our sins. He died so that we can be forgiven. So tonight we are talking about forgiveness. Hard. It's going to be a good topic, but it's a good one. So what is forgiveness? I'm going to ask each and every one of y'all, and then I'll give the definition. So, Brianna, and what's forgiveness?
Right. Okay. So, you're not supposed to use the word in your definition of the word.
True.
Let me just, okay. So, to me, forgiveness is like, I guess pardoning. Would pardon be a good word? I'm going to roll with it for now because I don't know. Like, pardoning someone for something they've done like against you that like upset you in some way, or maybe I don't know if pardoning is the right word, but
yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stick with that. Like pardoning them for something that they've done against you, like letting go of all the feelings of like, I don't know, resentment, all ill feelings, ill will, like surrounding that situation to like, make it a little bit lighter. It doesn't necessarily mean you've forgotten what they've done, but like, you're letting go of like the hurt and the pain associated with. That's what forgiveness would mean to me.
Okay, I'm glad you said that, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Reverend Watson, what is forgiveness?
Forgiveness is the voluntary decision that we make to move past those who have wronged us and not allowing bitterness and anger to overtake us in the process.
Okay, Webster's. Thank you. Last but not least, Reverend Gale, what is forgiveness?
I wasn't going to say it quite that way, but forgiveness to me is when you make up in your mind that you're not going to let what someone does to you allow it to take root in you and mess up your life, mess up your plans, mess up your goals, mess up, distract you from what you have, in your mind to do, in your mindset to do. And that's real in line with Reverend Watson said, because, when you decide to forgive somebody, you're saying that, hey, I'm letting go of it. So I'm letting go of it. And even when you let go of something, you should see that person and shouldn't feel that anger and that rage. That's how you really know you forgive somebody. When you see that person, you don't feel that anger or rage or, so that's what forgiveness is to me. Yeah.
Okay. So I Googled forgiveness, and it says that psychologists generally define forgiveness as a conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance towards a person or a group who has harmed you, regardless of whether they are actually deserving of it. So that was what came up when I Googled the definition of the forgiveness. So let's start our conversation a little bit now. I'm gonna ask each as we do, I'll ask each of you the question: is it easy for you to forgive? Is it hard, or is it hard for you to forgive? Why or why not? Anybody can go ahead and jump in, or I'll pick someone. Is it easy for you to forgive, or is it hard? Do you have a hard time forgiving? Why or why not?
I really think it really depends on what the offense is. Because you have some people, and depends on how close that person is to you that wronged you. Because you have some people that wrong you, and you just brush it off, and go about your business. But then you have others who wrong you that are a little closer to you, and that you didn't. You especially if you feel like that person is someone that would never do what they did to you. It's a little more harder to let go of that, because in your mind you already had that person in your mind at a certain pedestal, and you know what I'm saying, and you're like, well, I can't believe that person did that to me, and it's because of your feelings and the way you felt towards that person. So I really think that it all depends on how close the person is to you and what the offense is.
Okay. Brianna, Reverend Watson.
I think Minister Gale said it like really well. I think I would also add circumstances too to what he said, because you know how something can be like really, really small. Like say you were saving a piece. I like cheesecake, y'all. Say you were saving a piece of cheesecake and it was in the fridge and you were having a bad day, right? Like it was just like not a good day. Nothing went your way. But in your mind, you're going, I have this piece of cheesecake at home. I'm ready for it. I'm excited. And then you get into your house and someone in the house that ate your cheesecake. Normally on a good day, you'd be able to go, okay, I mean, it's fine. I get it. I forgive you. But on that bad day, like because of the circumstances surrounding that event, you're more likely to be like, oh my gosh, you're the worst. I can't believe you. I've never been this disrespected in my entire life. I'm moving out. And like, so I feel like circumstances also plays a role, like depending on like closeness and what was actually done. But otherwise, I think it was already well said.
Okay. Reverend Watson.
Yeah, I agree with what's been said. Forgiveness, whether for a believer or a non-believer, is one of the most difficult things that you have to do. Because again, as was stated, it's a voluntary decision, right? You don't have to do it. And oftentimes when you don't do it, the effects of it aren't visible to you, but there's long-lasting effects when you don't do it. So it's very difficult for many to forgive, including myself, right? There's a lot of steps that you have to take to get towards the ability to forgive, regardless of how small or large the offense is. It's hard. It's difficult. It's difficult, but it's necessary.
Yes. So so to answer the question, to follow up, is it hard for me? Like I believe all of you guys have basically said, similar things. Like it is, to me, I guess it's just, for me, it's like when I think about certain things that people have said or done, it's like, wow, like you this really how you moving? This really how you feel? Like I could never. So it's almost like the audacity of some people. Like, did you really say that, or did you really do that? So that's when it's, for me, it's like the hardest, because it's like some things, it's just like you want to say it's almost unforgivable because you can't believe that this person, like Reverend Gail said, that this person that you looked up to and revered is really did this thing or said this thing. So, but and then like Reverend Watson said, forgiveness is very hard. Very hard. And, especially when you know that you just wouldn't do certain things or you wouldn't move a certain way, it's extremely difficult. But as Christians, it is necessary. Okay. So Brianna had said something earlier about when she gave her definition of forgiveness, she said you don't have to forget, but in order to forgive. So, some people feel like you do. So my next question is, can you fully and truly and honestly in your heart forgive someone, but still remember what they did? Or does forgiveness mean that you have to forget it completely? Like if in order to forgive them, you have to completely forget what they did. You can't, when you see them, you can't even remember like that, maybe they did something, whatever it is that they do. So the question is, when you forgive someone, does that mean you have to completely forget the offense or whatever? Or can you still forgive, but just, in the back of your mind, remember what happened? So anybody want to start with that one? I
guess I can start because it was from my definition of forgiveness. I don't think that you have to completely forget what they did, because in my head, there's like a separation between reconciling your feelings and just like completely forgetting what they were. If that makes sense, like you can come to terms with what you were feeling, what you experienced, like how it affected you without completely erasing it from your memory. And I mean, to me, it wouldn't be beneficial to completely forget what they've done, because like, I don't know, you would like some sort of reminder to show you like that person has shown you their true colors in a sense. Like you said earlier, you know how they're moving now, you know how they're going to act, you know how they're going to be towards you. So I wouldn't want to forget that, because I feel like in the end that would set me up again to be in a situation where it could happen again, and it would cause like this whole other cycle where I'd be angry, resentful, like, you know, things like that. But I don't necessarily think you need to forget. There's a difference between coming to terms with what you felt, understanding it, growing from it, and just completely wiping it from your memory. Because if you're wiping it from your memory, in my mind, you're not fully dealing with it. In that case, you kind of just tucked it away, shoved it in a box somewhere, and you're not actually handling what occurred. And like, you know, that's not great either. I don't think that's true forgiveness, but yeah.
That's good. That was good. Reverend Gail, Reverend Watson, do you have to forgive and forget, or can you forgive but still remember? Listen, Reverend Watson?
I guess it's waiting for me to go. Okay.
Well, I can go.
It doesn't matter. I look at it like this. It's like, you know, when a person offends you, it's like a scar. You know, even though the scar is healed, when you look at that scar, you remember what you felt when you received the scar. So even though you remember what it felt like, it doesn't mean that you're still dealing with the pain, because the pain is no longer there. Mm-hmm. And so that's the way I look at forgiveness. You know, I might see that person, or you know, what have you, and I might remember the situation, remember what the pain like. If I'm concentrating on enough, remember what the pain like when it went through it. But it doesn't mean that I still am dealing with the pain of it. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that's how, you know, a lot of times forgiveness works. Of course, you're human, so you're going to remember what somebody did with you, did to you, or said to you, or how they offended you and how they hurt your feelings. But it doesn't mean that, you know, just because you remember, it doesn't mean that you're still necessarily dealing with the issue. If you both have squashed it, or you just forgive them and have forgiven them and moved on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, I think that's when you say, "Oh, I forgive and forget," I don't even think that's realistic. You know, with certain things. You know, sometimes people do forgive people and move past and forget, depending on the issue. But like I said before, depending on the offense and what someone has done to you, you know, it's hard to forget what they did. You know, but it doesn't mean that you haven't moved past or moved forward with your life because of what they did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Reverend Watson?
Yeah, I think the key in all of it is forgiving and letting go.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. I think that's the key, right? To let it go. Of course, you don't ever want to be naive and allow yourself to be put in the same positions again, to be done wrong by anyone. But it's important to let it go. And some people say, I forgive, but I don't forget. That's in essence almost potentially not letting it go, right? Which means every time you see that individual, you keep your distance, you're triggered by it. You allow the person and the situation to have control over you, right? And you know, as we're talking about, I know we're in the season of Easter, just not too long ago, and the ultimate model of forgiveness, right, is Jesus Christ, right?
Absolutely.
So, in the 23rd chapter of Luke, Gospel of Luke, right? So Jesus is on the cross, right? And what were his first words? Father, forgive them.
For they know not what they do.
Right? For they know not what they do. Now, here's what's interesting. Jesus is in pain, right? Roman soldiers gambling for his clothes. Criminals on both sides of him. Crowd blaspheming him. Religious leaders demanding that he can be crucified, right? which is another level of hurt, right? Because often the ones closest to us, as was stated earlier, provide us with the most pain, right? It's often the people that are closest to you, religious leaders, yelling, crucify him, right? So here we have them, in spite of all of that, saying, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. It's calling on his Father because it's a prayer. So we talked about how difficult it is to forgive someone. If you don't have an active prayer life, it's going to be difficult to ever be able to forgive someone, right? People talk about, I forgive them. It's hard to forgive anyone if you do not have a prayer life. So here Jesus Christ, in spite of everything that happened to him, was still able to say, Father, forgive them. And here's what's interesting. Nobody asked him to do it.
Right.
He just felt that forgiveness was necessary. So he interrupted his own death to pray. Now that's the importance and the power of prayer. He interrupted his death, stopped death to first pray and say, Father, forgive them. There's a book that I like. It's entitled Murder of Jesus. And it suggested that the whole meaning of the cross is summed up with this one act of intercession. Here Jesus is, and I'm going somewhere, is at the worst pain he's ever felt. He's not praying for his mother that was watching him die. He was not praying for his disciples, even though they were nowhere to be found. But he was praying for the ones that caused him the most harm. He was praying for the ones that wanted his demise. It was a prayer of what? Forgiveness, right? And I'm done on this. And here's the answer to the question. Forgiveness always requires you to let go of the past, right? Because Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That does not suggest that they were unaware of their sins. But what it pointed out was they did not recognize who Jesus was. Jesus was saying, I don't need to let it go for them. I need to let it go for myself, right? Because they don't even actually realize who I am. Because forgiveness is not just for who you are forgiving, but most importantly, it is for you. Great example. Jesus said, I need to relieve myself of every offense that was done against me, every burden that is going to prevent me from being resurrected and fulfilling the plan that God has for my life. It's not for them, it's for you. Because if you do not forgive, all that burden, all that stress will just continually weigh you down. And you will never be able to get up and fulfill the plan that God has for your life. So I say, you have to forgive, move past, let it go.
Let it go. Okay.
Don't avoid people. You know how sometimes people do you wrong and you avoid them? You say, I forgot it. But every time you see them, you making a little sly comment under your breath. You telling other people how they are, what they did to you. You let it go. Just completely let it go and allow that weight to be lifted from you. It's hard, but you got to pray about it and you got to let it go, not for them,
but for you.
Ultimately, you letting it go for you. Thank you, Gracie.
Thank you, Gracie. So yeah, I agree with what everyone has said here tonight. For me personally, I feel like Reverend Watson said, you have to move past it. Some things you will never truly forget. Like it'll never leave your mind because it was just like, wow. But if you're able to move past it and let it go to the point where you're not, like you said, you're not avoiding people, or every time somebody new comes around, like, girl, don't say nothing to her because she, that's when you can, truly think or truly, forgive. So that I agree with all of you. So my next question is, let's talk a little bit about forgiving someone that is not sorry or hasn't expressed, empathy or, being sorry towards you, for something that they've done to you. How easy or hard does that make it a little bit harder to forgive when like someone did something to you and they meant it and they're not even sorry about it? So, let's talk a little bit about that. Forgiving someone who's they're just not sorry. They're not sorry. They have never said sorry. They don't act sorry. They look at you and they're like, I did it and I meant to do it. So let's talk a little bit about that. Anyone?
Yeah, so anytime I think about forgiveness, I think about there was this lady named Judy Scott. She's the mother of Walter Scott, a black son that was killed by a police officer in Charlotte, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. The cop shot him in the back. No remorse, no apology. And they put her on TV almost at the worst moment, right? Her son has died. And they asked her the question, how does she feel about it? Does she forgive the officer that shot her son? And her comment was, I'm supposed to be really angry and upset and enraged, but I can't because of the love of God in me. She said, I can't be like that. She said, I feel forgiveness in my heart, even for the guy that shot and killed my son. That's a whole nother level. Of forgiveness. And the only way that she's able to be able to utter those words and do something like that is with the help and strength of God. There's no other way that she's able to do that. And a lot of these things that we're trying to forgive that we'll encounter, we won't be able to do it on our own strength. Mm-hmm. This could be nobody but God that's going to get us to the point. And here's another thing. It's a process, right? It's a process for all of us. Don't tell me that I need to forgive the next day someone that potentially killed my child, right? It's a process, and it all takes time. If I were her, I don't know when I would have gotten to that point, but she was able to do it a lot quicker than I was. But ultimately, she will be the better for it. But it's difficult. It's very hard.
I can't imagine. I'm be honest with you. I can't imagine being able to say that so soon. I can't imagine. And I guess, like you said, it would take the power of God, but someone to kill your child, I can't imagine ever being, and was not even remorseful. Like you said, the officer was just not even remorseful. There was no apology. It was just like, yeah, I did it. So what? That would take the power of something, God and everything else in the world, because that just seems like a lot. Reverend Gail, Brianna, do you want to chime in on that? How is it harder for you to forgive a person when you know they're not sorry?
I feel like how Reverend Watson mentioned, it's a process. Now, I don't know if it's the healthiest process, but we grow and we grow in Christ. But I feel like it would be easier after I reacted, if that makes sense. Like I wouldn't, like how he mentioned she was able to get up there and immediately say, like, I do forgive him. I don't think I would have been there yet. Like if someone had wronged me in such a way and they were not remorseful, I feel like I would have a response to that first. Maybe it would not even maybe. It wouldn't be forgiveness immediately. It definitely wouldn't. I'd be like, I'd be wanting to one up that and be like, okay, well, you hurt me this way, so why shouldn't I hurt you this way? And then I feel like that doesn't always make you feel the best. So the feeling that comes after that is, okay, well, Lord, how do I come to terms with this? How do I forgive myself for what I did? And also, how do I forgive them for what they did to me? So I think it definitely does make it a little bit more difficult, because like you want to be reactive in that moment. I feel like in that moment, you're not thinking about what's going to be best for me in the long run. You're thinking about what's going to satisfy me now, what's going to make me feel better now. And that might not always be the right path, but that's how I feel about it. Yeah.
And that was honest. That was real talk.
Real talk.
I think that, I really think it just, you really have to depend on, you have to depend on the strength of God. Like you said, you can't do that in your own strength. Especially something that traumatic, you can't do that in your own strength. It would definitely have to be the strength of God. Because, people are like that. And sometimes people will try to push you to the point where you do break. They're not, even though that's dangerous, because you never know somebody's breaking what they're going to do when they break. But it's really about about the relationship you have with God, and the fellowship that you have with Him that will help you get through that process. The sooner or how fast you get through the process.
Okay. So as we end our conversation about forgiveness, one of the scriptures that popped up and that came to mind for me was Matthew 6, 14 and 15, which says, "For if you forgive others for their transgressions, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others, then your Father will not forgive you your transgressions." So to me, that resonated because I'm not perfect. And there are some things that I have done in my life where I have needed to be forgiven. So I guess that's the reason why, while forgiveness is hard and while it's a process, I have to forgive, because I know that I've done things that I needed to be forgiven for, and being clothed in flesh, I'm going to do things that I need to be forgiven of. So that is, that's basically my stance on it when it comes to forgiveness. Is it hard? Yes, especially when it's someone close to you, and especially when the person isn't sorry. But that always comes to mind, like, you know what, Brittany, what you did the other day, that was raggedy, and you're gonna need to be forgiven for that, and you probably gonna do something tomorrow that you need to be forgiven for. So that alone helps me forgive and helps me, as Reverend Watson has said, and as we've all said, let go, because I need God to forgive me, because I need to go to heaven. I don't want to go to hell. So,
but often instinctually, our first reaction is to get back, physically, verbally. I mean, we often want to inflict the same pain that potentially was inflicted upon us.
Yeah.
And once we've done that, then we'll consider forgiving, right?
Like an eye for an eye.
Right. If we are being honestly truthful and real, I mean, that's often sometimes how we feel. Certainly immediately after something has happened. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult. That's why it's hard to make it as simple as you got to be prayed up, but you
have to be prayed up, because people will do stuff and say stuff, and like you said, sometimes that instinct kicks in. You're like, you know what? Oh, okay, this how you move it. Let me. And then you're like, wait a minute. It's like that. And one thing that I thank God for now is getting to that point, and I get so tickled when I'm to the point where I know I can say something, and I could just say something and get them back, and it's like the Lord is like, shut up, Brittany, and I shut up, and then I'll think about it, like, you know what? Yeah, you deserve a treat. You deserve to go on Amazon and buy yourself something, because you made God proud, because you did not act the way you know you wanted to act. So like you said, I agree with what we talked about tonight. So, you know, in true Real Talk Tuesday, you know, way, we always do a rapid fire question. Normally it's something light and fluffy, but this one, because we're talking about forgiveness, this one's going to be a little more thought, you know, provoking. So on March 27th, 2022 was the Oscars. So we all watched the Oscars. I was watching the Oscars because I love the show. I love the movie Encanto. And, you know, the cast of Encanto was supposed to perform We Don't Talk About Bruno. If you've not seen Encanto, if you've not heard the song We Don't Talk About Bruno, you're living under a rock, and I'm going to need you to get with it. So I'm watching it. The show, the performance didn't give what it needed to give, so I turned it off. So then the next thing I know, I'm on Facebook scrolling, and I see this video clip. And it is of one of my favorite actors of all time assaulting another fellow castmate or actor. And I'm like, was this a skit? Because it looked a little staged. And so then, you know, I turn on the Oscars, I'm rewinding it back and all this other stuff. And it's like, no, this really happened. And then I, you know, do some research as to why it happened. So, you know, and everybody knows what the backlash of that has been. It was talked about it was over talked about for weeks. It's still being talked about. They're trying to do this and that and the other. So my question is to each and every one of you. Are we canceling Will Smith? Are we canceling Will Smith? Yes or no? And we can talk about that a little bit, just real quick. We all know what he did, but are we canceling him? And we're talking about forgiveness, or is he deserving of all forgiveness and, you know, all of that, or are we canceling him? Let's go.
I mean, I think it's. I'm certainly not counseling another African American man for making a mistake. It was a huge mistake. Now, I don't want to diminish the act of what he did. I mean, it was wrong, right? But as far as second chances, yeah, absolutely, he deserves a second, third, fourth, and fifth chance, right? I think there, however, should be consequences for his actions, right? Because anytime you do something like that, there should be consequences. I think there should be heavy consequences. But as far as cancel, absolutely not. Now, I don't know how Chris Rock feels about all that, but this is just me, the outsider looking in, who wasn't slapped in the face.
Right.
So he may have a different opinion on the matter, but no, I definitely believe in forgiveness, second chances. It was a terrible mistake. I wish he had publicly apologized to Chris Rock. He is yet to do that. He hid behind a written statement, which I don't think that was fair, because he publicly embarrassed and assaulted Chris Rock. I believe he should have been man enough to publicly come on and apologize as well. So again, I think there should be some severe consequences. But I'm certainly not going to cancel him. Okay. If he comes out with another great movie, I'm going to support him.
Definitely. I agree totally. And like I said, and for me, and we'll get to Brianna and Reverend Gill for their take too. For me, Will Smith has literally been one of my favorite actors, and you know, he was, you know, also had a nice music career as well. So I think like that, when we talked about when somebody does something that hurts you, like Will Smith was like my cousin from Philly. Like I felt like that was my older cousin from Philly. So when he did it, I'm like, no, why? And you know, and there has been some consequences, and I don't know, you know, what your Reverend Watson, what your definition of heavy is. There have been some, you know, he's been banned from the Oscars for 10 years. And I did see some words where they were actually talking about taking his Oscar from him, which breaks my heart, because this man, I feel like he deserved an Oscar for Pursuit of Happiness. I feel like he should have won the Oscar for Ali. So the fact that he finally got it for this movie, and now it's just being, that is not even being celebrated. Like, he's had a 30+ year amazing career, and for it to all just, this is all we're talking about now, and it just breaks my heart for him. But me, no, like much like Reverend Watson, when Bad Boys 4 come out, I'm going to see it. Whenever it comes out, I'm going to see it. So
And it's hard, and I don't want to steal Brianna and Brandon's time, Reverend Gail's time, but it's hard to pile on someone because there, in my opinion, there was obviously some other things going on.
Oh, absolutely.
With Will that triggered him to go up there and do that. There's some deep-rooted, dark, painful things that are suppressed within the inside of him. And I think he reached a point where it just he publicly embarrassed himself and it exploded in front of everybody. So there's some deeper issues there. So yeah, I don't think we should cancel him. We should be trying to provide help. But again, there definitely should be consequences.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because
but he needs. Well, we all need help, but he certainly needs a lot of help.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Brianna?
I agree. We've talked about like canceling people on like this Real Talk platform before, and I don't agree with canceling. It just seems so harsh and rude. The way it's done, like I don't know. I don't believe in canceling culture like as it is in itself. So no, I don't think that he should be canceled, but I do agree that there should be consequences. And like I know there have been, so I don't know if they really, I don't know, are appropriate, I guess, or enough for what happened. I'm not really sure how you're supposed to like. My mom would spank me when I was younger or something like that, but it's not like the world can come and like spank Will Smith for hitting another person on TV. So I don't know what the appropriate like consequences were, but like there definitely should be some, and I do think like it's good to say that some help would be required. He's been in a lot of stuff publicly recently. There's been a lot of scrutiny on him about the stuff happening in his life. There's lots of oversharing that occurs on the interconnected webs, and everyone on Beyonce's internet has their 2 cents to say. So I imagine that, all it takes is one straw to break the camel's back. That's what they say. And that was what happened that night. So while I don't think it was right, I don't think he needs to be canceled. But yeah, that's
Reverend Gail.
I mean, I feel the same way. I'm not going to cancel Will Smith because he made a mistake. You think about it, we all make mistakes. We all mess up. We're human beings. So what he did was wrong. And like Reverend Kenny said, I'm not Chris Rock, so I can't, I don't know how I would have handled being slapped, well, actually, I do know how I would handle it, but that's another conversation. That's another conversation. But yeah, I think it should be some type of, consequence for it. But to try to ruin his whole career that he worked 30 years for because of a mistake that he made. Yes, his mistake was made publicly, but how many mistakes that we made that are hidden, that are not public? You understand what I'm saying? So, yes, he should experience some consequences, but to try to ruin his whole career behind a mistake that he made publicly, no, just, now whatever Chris Rock decided to do, that's up to Chris Rock, and he should, do whatever he's going to do, but that's what his choice is. But I'm not going to cancel, Will Smith. I still watch all his Fresh Prince. I'm going to watch Bel Air, the new series.
Love
I'm going to watch Bad Boys 4 when it comes out, and I think he's working on some other stuff.
I am Legend too.
Yeah, I think it's paused right now, but hey, I think it's gonna.
I hope he gets back to it
come back. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to Bad Boys 4 because Bad Boys 4.
And then we have to look at like Reverend Kid said, the root of it. That was just an outward expression of what was going on the inside, but the root of it really had nothing to do with Chris Rock. None of this really had nothing. He was just the one that took the punishment for what was going on the inside of it. But so we have to look the root of it, and we need to pray for Will and pray that he gets in a better situation mentally, and get healthy mentally, because you can definitely tell that he's going through some things. So yeah, I'm not gonna cancel Will. Will's still my boy. I grew up on Will Smith and the Fresh Prince and all that stuff. I'm not gonna cancel Will because he made a mistake. And God didn't cancel me when I made my thousands of mistakes and still make them. So why we gonna cancel somebody else? I think too often that people try to play the role of God. He's let God deal with Will, and He will.
And He will.
Let us stop trying to be judgment. And it's crazy how many people sit on the seat of judgment for his mistake. And when you look at when they look at their own life, they probably should have been canceled on years ago. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy how people do that. You don't pray for Will because there's some other things going on with him. Yeah.
I have a question before we go, just for you guys, right?
Oh Lord.
Okay.
We've mentioned Will Smith a lot, but none of us have mentioned his wife yet.
Oh, we talking about her.
I wasn't going to, but
he said keep her name out your mouth.
That was why Chris Rock got slapped.
Not to just a quick question for the three of you. So from a female perspective, Sister Brittany and Sister Brianna, do you think Jada should have stopped him from going up there? And then to you, Reverend Gail, if you were Will, would you have wanted her to stop you from going up there? So
me and some of my friends have had this conversation. I'm not married, but I believe that because I'm a person and I have family members, I have friends. If I'm with someone and I see them acting out of character, my instinct is to cover them. Because I don't want them, because that's the reason, that's part of the thing called partnership, kinship, is we cover one another. If my friend, we're out to dinner and somebody comes up and does something raggedy and I see my friend, my female friend, my male friend about to act up, my instinct is to say, we're not about to do that, because we're not about to mess up your blessings, we're not about to mess up your life over something. So I feel like as a wife, Jada should have definitely not allowed her husband to do that. And I'm not saying allow like she has to tell him what to do, but I feel like there's she should have like no, babe, this is not how we're gonna handle this. There's a better way to do this, and this ain't it. And not to like what Chris Rock said to me was just not worthy of what happened. It just wasn't. First of all, Jada Pinkett balled her whole entire career. And I know that people say she has alopecia. No, I didn't know that. And I'm sure a lot of people didn't know that, because unless you watch her show and follow her career like that, you wouldn't have known that. And because I don't, some people don't, how many of us on here know that she had alopecia? I didn't. So I feel like what was said was definitely not worthy of what, the consequences of it. Like, he definitely didn't deserve to be hit. And I feel like, and then it was like after the fact, she even said, I don't care what people say about my hair. And then she even said that Will acted, she even said that like, oh, my husband overreacted. So it's almost like, not only are you not protecting, he was protecting you, but you're not protecting him as a wife. And I just felt like, nah, baby, like I'm gonna need for him to go ahead and sign them papers and move on, because she's not a rider. Like, I feel like she definitely should have been like, we're not doing this here. Let's get him backstage. Let's get him backstage. If you need to punch him backstage or you need to lay him out backstage, fine. But we're not going to embarrass ourselves, because this is your night. This is what you've worked your 30-year plus career to have, and no one's talking about it. Like, Will Smith deserved that Oscar. He deserved it, and no one's talking about that. They're just talking about that hit. And not only just Will Smith, think about all the other firsts at the Oscars, right? It was produced by a Black man. The all Latino cast. The first Afro-Latino queer woman won an Oscar. The first physically or handicapped man won an Oscar. But no one's talking about any of those things. We're just talking about the fact that Will Smith hit Chris Rock, which was wrong. So, no, I feel like Jada Pinkett, yes, if anything needs to be canceled, she needs to be canceled. But that's just my opinion on her.
Honestly, I think Brittany said it. So I don't know how quick the whole event transpired, but there were a couple seconds that I could turn to the side and look at my husband and realize he was about to get up and go do something. I feel like in that moment I'd be like, "Sir, sit down. Stay in your seat. We're good." I was always taught that you don't hit somebody unless they hit you first. And so if they come at me with words, I'd rather sit down, talk to them about it. If it gets a little heated, it gets a little heated. That sometimes happens. happens in arguments. But my first response wouldn't be to go like, swing on somebody. So I wouldn't want my husband's first response to be to go swing on somebody either. And I feel like, it goes into saying like, I'd want to protect him as well, especially with the way that like, we're already viewed in the media and like as a race and all, like, they love to call us angry Black people all the time, violent, like, no decorum. I wouldn't want that following someone I love around over like such like a brief moment of just like burst or like, pent up anger or something like that, especially over a comment that I didn't think fully deserved the reaction that it got. But that's just my 2 cents. Yeah, I just would have been like, sir, please stay in your seat. We're fine. We're going to have a good night. We can talk to him afterwards. We can explain why this probably wasn't the best, why it's like, why it offended me. Because like Brittany said, not everybody knew that she had alopecia. And even though she's talked about like her struggles with it and how it's made her feel, and we don't know what she said of, like behind closed doors about how she's feeling about it and how it's affected her and how he's seen her deal with it. But like, not everybody knows that. And I feel like you have to give everyone just like a little bit of grace and be willing to meet them where they are sometimes to just like talk about it. It didn't need to be a slap. So I just, I
have one more thing to say. And that's it. And I'm going to be brief. In that situation, I feel almost is like he feels like he has to compensate for her because of everything that other things that have happened. We all know. And if you don't know, Google it. I feel like he feels like he has to try to play Superman because of things that have happened before. Because at first, if you see the clip, he laughed. She rolled her eyes, it was like, please. He laughed, and then it was almost like she looked at him, and then it was like, oh, wait a minute, she's upset. Let me go, let me do something. So that's what that looked like to me. So yeah. But I feel like he feels like he has to try to prove his love to her, and that just wasn't the way to do it. And I wouldn't want nobody to prove their love to me that way, because if that had been anybody else, like we all know Shannon Sharp. Shannon, y'all heard what Shannon Sharp said he was going to do. Like if that had been him, like that could have been really bad, like even worse. Or it could have came with like legal charges. Chris Rock didn't press charges. I would have pressed charges. I'd have sued. I'd have had money. I'd have had all kinds of stuff. I'm being honest with you. So yeah. But Reverend Gail, I'm sorry.
For me, the question Kenny asked that would I want to stop me if it was me? Yes, because as a wife and a husband, they should cover each other and protect each other from those types of things. And you think of it like this too. Will Smith is the primary money maker in the household. It's because of his career that Jada is afforded a lot of things that she has. So why, knowing that no matter what y'all been through, y'all still together. So why, knowing that, and that few moments, all that should have flashed in her eyes, having the potential of losing everything that her husband has built up for her and their family.
Absolutely.
So, and the fact that why wouldn't she want to protect him from that? See, that's the root. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. Why wouldn't you? Even if he got to the stage, she could have yelled out, "Will, no," something. Even if she couldn't grab him before he left the seat, she should have said something or done something to stop him from being publicly humiliated on national television. And of course, like I said, everything is going on in their marriage. Yeah, she should have stopped it, because really, we don't know how deep this is going to go. We don't know how deep this is going to go, because when people, when they get their emotions, and he's a Black man, they're going to try to ruin his career over something just like this. So, but yeah, she should have stopped. I would want my wife to stop me from making that major mistake, especially if you're upset, you're not thinking straight, and when you're not thinking straight, that your spouse is supposed to think for you. And stop you and cover you, and so, to me, it really I lost respect for her as his wife, because it just lets me know what kind of wife she is. Any wife that's not willing to stop their husband from making that major, even just humiliating himself on national television, whether it was in her honor or not, why would you want your husband to go out and do that? With everything that he has done, and for one of the best movies he's made, Like, why would you want your wife, your husband, to go out there and do that and humiliate yourself? So it really says a lot about. It really says a lot about her too.
Mm-hmm. So, I just feel, I personally feel like there was just, even if he had to go up on stage, I feel like it would have been more gallant if he had grabbed the mic and be like, you know what, my wife suffers from alopecia. Chris Rock, you owe her an apology. Like that.
Oh, so like a gentle Kanye moment, not like a why'd you do it?
Yeah, like a gentle Kanye, like a gentle Kanye. Like, you know what? I'm gonna let you finish your little joke, but my wife has alopecia, and you owe her an apology. And I'm standing up here until she gets it. To me, that would have been like, yes, boo, like protect your wife, get him. But yeah, that would have been a little bit better. But I mean, we can talk about that whole situation because it was just so. Wow, we could talk about that all night, but we will not. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Reverend Watson. Thank you, Reverend Gail. Thank you, Brianna. And thank you, Gigi, for being our little guest tonight. Until next time, stay blessed.